Good afternoon, everybody. A very warm welcome to this last session on the FM Talkathon. Being on Day. I'm happy to see that many of you all have come in at a very short notice. Thank you for joining us. And not taking much time, let me first introduce you to our speakers for the day. We are going to discuss the technological interventions reshaping FM future. We have with us here today Angad Jain, the Chief Strategy Officer at Tenon Group. Angad is responsible for the overall strategy planning and execution in the organization, including green guarding, Tenon FM and Soteria. We have Amit Salunke, CEO and Director, Sumit Group. He's a young entrepreneur and professional with the epicenter of his focus being technology intervention and customer satisfaction, client retention, training, compliances, and continuous improvement in his current processes. Parikshit Roy, co-founder, Collido, and director of PAS Digital Private Limited. He has over 35 years of domestic and international business management experience. He has been last in the corporate role as the managing director and board member of Compass Group in India. We have Suman Banerjee, General Manager and Head Administration, Tyson Group Industrial Solutions. After retiring from the Army, he's worked for MNCs including Blue Dart, FedEx, Standard Chartered, Airtel, Tata AIG, and now he is with Tyson Group. Very warm welcome to you all. Thank you for joining us. And before we begin, I would like to give my a salute to all the FM frontrunners who have been ceaselessly working and ensuring that we have better lives, and especially during these trying times. I know many of them are facing a lot of hardships, and we pray that they all come through as a very successful warrior. And as I begin, let us have the panel on the screen. To begin with, yes, technology has grown and there are a lot of new concepts, new softwares, new apps, and to be very frank, even today, we cannot work without our gizmos that we require for our daily operations as well. So let's see what we have today where technology is concerned in FM. We will be touching upon mainly three of the points. Is that how aware is everyone about the technology that has come into practice for the FM to deliver their processes in a more quality-based and more efficient way. Then we have got the actual acceptance of this at both ends. Of course, while an FM service provider will want to introduce newer softwares and newer technological development, at the other end, we need the customers as well to accept these new technologies, which is going to be the future of FM. Yes, and then of course the big million-dollar question is how much is it all going to cost, and are we ready to invest in this kind of technology? To begin with, let us call in Angad. This question comes to you. Okay, we know that we have technology. We can't live without technology. Let's accept it all. Okay, it's going to stay here. So while we have some service providers who have welcomed it with open arms, have the customers also accepted this? Are they saying, yes, okay, go ahead, spend on this technology, we'll take it up? What has been your experience?
Thank you, Mohana, and thank you for having me on this panel, Clean India. And, good afternoon to all the panelists who are here with me today. Mona, a great question. I remember many conversations that you and I have had over the last 1 year, where we've discussed how, I wish we had more, interventions of technology leading into this period of COVID. We used to call it COVID year. Now it's COVID year part 2. We're in the second year, and we don't have a firm end to this side. I think as service providers, we're all working at overdrive to identify areas that we could implement technology, make it seamless, make it easily adaptable for our workforce, be it the last man on the ground or the operatives. And this journey has not been easy. The fact that we have to do all of this without human interaction, the social element of, walking someone through how it works only on a screen like this has only made it more challenging. But if we take a flip side of it, I think there's a dichotomy between the customer. There are customers who've welcomed it, who wanted this little push, nudge that this crisis has provided us to move towards, adapting more towards, tech-driven solutions, digitization. But then there is the other side, which is, by virtue of the fact that they're either too overly occupied dealing with their own complex problems, leading through this crisis, or they don't have real sight about what kind of spend or budget they'll be allowed on this. But if I take a nutshell, and I'll give you a few examples to maybe help us understand, as a panel. If you look at the technology, the bottom end, the acceptance is going up very fast, and then this is things like digital tracking of workflows, digital tracking of daily tasks. What one would do in the hard services world, which is track PPMs. We've made PPMs, planned preventive maintenance checks for cleaning. So that's picked up quite rapidly, quite easily. Attendance management solutions, that's been quite rapid. But if we start going up the value chain, that's where there's been still a bit of a reluctance to fully understand what they're stepping into. There is this eagerness that, can you just build me a workplace of the future now? But the understanding of what that workplace of the future may be for one customer, which is, let's say a data center versus, a co-working space, they're very different in this journey. I'm sure my colleagues will probably echo, their experiences and how they've seen it. But we are, I think, from a place of moving in this direction at the speed of 20 kilometers per hour, we've moved to 45, 60, which I think is a respectable pace, so as to not bring any damage to our current working ecosystem.
Right. That's an encouraging statement that you say they're moving from 40 to 60. Let's pick up from Amit. Amit, what are the challenges you're facing now, rather to introduce this new success story of technology into your customers' processes? How challenging has it been?
Hi, Mona. Thank you. And a very good afternoon to you and all the panelists and all the viewers. Yes, like introducing digital tools has been challenging, and the biggest challenge, I believe, is transforming the perception of FM beyond the traditional hard and soft services only. So yes, building maintenance is definitely the core of FM, but at the same time, FM also spans today the entire sophisticated requirement through IT-based facility management, or you can say computer-aided facility management. The second point that comes to my mind is now that we are working with more than 50,000 people across India, there's one challenge we face is like the lack of skilled or trained manpower. We still find sourcing to be the most tedious task, and after a lot of hard work put in by our training department, we are able to train a large amount of workforce through e-training modules. But then yes, the challenge persists, and we are trying to fight it day in, day out.
Right, right.
The third aspect, I believe, would be resistance from the government sector. As you know that when it comes to government sector, they come last when it comes to adapting to any kind of technology. But yes, we have been seeing a real shift in that ideology these days. As recently we backed on a project in the Greater Corporation of Chennai, wherein Sumit Group, along with its Spanish counterparts, is currently managing a mega solid waste management project, wherein we are responsible for collection and transportation of around 3,000 tons of waste every day. And under this project, we were able to successfully design and introduce an integrated model wherein man and machine, uh, everything can work in a connected way. So yes, in this project we have more than 3,000 plus battery operated vehicles, 250 plus compact and tipper vehicles, and all these vehicles are installed with vehicle tracking systems.
Is there an acceptance to the digital part in
Yes,
this from the customer
yes,
end?
yes.
Oh,
We can
yes.
see definite
Right, right.
acceptance by the people of Chennai, and also the government is really bringing in awareness regarding waste management, and people are also accepting the change.
Right. Hold on to that point, Amit. Let us ask Sumit from the customers end what is happening. Are you open? Kindly unmute yourself as you join. Suman, what are your expectations from a service provider at beyond pandemic, and how do you think technology-driven services are going to open up from the customer end?
Yeah, thanks, Mona, for the question. It's a very, very relevant question. First of all, good afternoon to all the panelists and the delegates and Clean India team for inviting me for this interesting panel discussion. Uh, as far as the customers are concerned, me being from the customer side, uh, we think that I think that the service providers will now have to think out of the box as to how they can provide service to the customers post-COVID era, or I mean, post-COVID is far-fetched, maybe during the COVID era as well. We really don't know when it's going to come to an end. But we have to run the business. All of us will have to run the business. I'm sure that over the past, say, 2 decades or so, FM industry has come a long way. There has been a lot of technological improvement and technological induction of a lot of new technology in terms of managing the premises, both from the service provider side, or I would say from the service partner side as well as from the customer side. So we have to work hand in hand to basically bring in technology in terms of not only the FM service per se covers real estate, workspace, the office management, soft services, project management, fit out project management, quality, HSE, a whole gamut of it. So there are a lot of service partners who are providing the service to the customers. A couple of things that we will expect the service partners is to invest more in technology in terms of reducing the human intervention and bringing in technology in terms of managing critical equipment in the offices, like IoTs are one of the examples. Then maybe when we go to the real estate side, the builders will have to give us more smart buildings where there is less of touch to the touch points. From the housekeeping or the cleaning side, they have to bring up innovative ways of cleaning and maintaining hygiene in the office premises, training to their staffs on technology-based facilities management is very, very important. So training, drills, all these are extremely important in terms of providing service to the customers. So these are the expectations from the customers. And I'm sure that to run a business, as all customer sites are big time, taken a big time hit, should also welcome the technological changes. There will be cost involved. We have to partner with our service partners. The customers will have to partner, provided the costs are justified, to improve the technology, to improve the quality of service, to improve the training of their staffs. So I think the partnership has to be more bonded, more strongly bonded than it is today. And we have to work as a team. That's what the expectation.
Right. Thank you so much. That is a nice message that customers have to look into, adopting technology, because we have to move to a touchless world, and that is one of the prime important aspects that we need to accept and more. Parikshit, representing from the technology, and this question for you. what would be the basic requirement for any technological acceptance? How are you going to tell a customer, yes, this is required, and you are at an advantage if you're accepting a technology-driven FM service?
So thank you, Mohana, and welcome. Good afternoon to all the delegates, to all the fellow panelists, and for you and your team for putting this up. And I hope all of you are safe and your families are secure. Now, I'll break down this question in two parts. One is the awareness, because I heard my other fellow panelists talk about things which I think they need to be supported with if they are to drive the new regime of digitization. And I always feel that if you see the telecom industry, if you see computing industry, India has always gone for hop, skip, and jump. So we had a supercomputer much before all our offices were equipped with a computer. So I think the digitization wave is going to be far, far more faster than North America or continental Europe than in India. And I'm going to talk about that in the course of the next 15 odd minutes. Not in this session, but in probably other questions. I'll break the question in two parts on how can we as a community, when I say a community, I'm considering the service providers and the end customers as a part of the same community. Because to usher in change, you need to work far more closely than what we are doing today. The first thing is digitization is on steroids. So there is no two ways about it. And if we are to say that cost is prohibitive and therefore we can't do it, I think somebody else is going to do it and we're going to fall behind. So there is this whole conundrum of cost versus adoption that has got to be put at rest. And we have to find innovative means, and I'm going to share some of them. The second is, and I was talking to some very, very senior digital technologists and digital scientists in North America. Their view is that this is akin to the Y2K. So many of us in our 40s and obviously beyond 50s know how the information technology industry really got a tailwind due to this Y2K. So I foresee this as a Y2K impact. And I'll give you empirical evidence for that. McKinsey ran a study just a few months back, and they talked to about more than 100 plus Fortune companies, Fortune listed companies. They found that in 2019, all these companies were using 35% of their products and services which were digitally enabled. Okay, come to 2020 August, in the global scenario, from 35 it went to 55%. Okay, from in APAC, which is closer home and something that we can talk about, relevant to our context, from 33% it went to 54%. And in North America, which is probably the most mature market, it went from 41% to 60%. Now coming more closer to our conversation, that how do we make technology and digital solutions acceptable? I think the first way of explaining, or the first principle of explaining it, is define the problem and define the magnitude of the problem and the complexity that problem and the cost of the problem that you are riddled with. Okay, and like Angad said that, and I heard some of my other fellow panelists talk about that there are certain things which are running at 60 kilometers, which is a decent speed, which probably was not there. So people have identified key stacks of problems and clustered them as priority, intermediate priority, will look after later. So in that sense, so complexity and therefore the cost of that complexity is the first way that customers and service providers need to identify that what is important in that service account. And there is no one size fits all. So we can't say visitor management is the problem in a account, could be, but may not be in the other. And what is the financial impact? So if you invest and if you bring in certain kinds of digital solution, how much impact would it give it to the service provider and how much would it give it to the end customer and their employees? The second important point is adoption challenges. Some of the most intriguing, and I ran a service business for several years in this country. The biggest problem was collaboration with IT. Most complex FM digital solutions need participation from IT, and that's where the cookie crumbles. The most problematic issue is data secrecy, data security. And that's where it gets into virtually a true firewall. Huh? CIOs and CTOs would keep talking about facts that my data is not secure. But bear in mind, inside their offices, their employees use Zomato, their employees use Swiggy, using the kind of geolocation of where they are. So I think that is a myth, and we as a community need to really build up a ring-fenced approach to say, hey, don't live with that myth. Let us challenge that myth, and I can build it later on. Reliability of solutions. Many digital solutions today are offered which are not reliable, which cannot be scaled, and there are adoption challenges saying, hey, ye kaam nahi karta hai, this other thing doesn't work, or something you promised is not being delivered. So reliability, and most important, you can't build a digital system which lived 10 years back. So you have to adopt to the ecosystem. The systems must be 5G compliant, because most of the transaction for any digital system has got to be on a mobile device, correct? So how are you building the product is going to be very important. And the last part, and I'll take 30 seconds for that, to convince technology adoption, Mohan, and to all our colleagues here. The first principle in India and specific to Asia is cost. So let's solve the cost puzzle. And there is a puzzle, and I can help you understand where's the puzzle, that everybody can fit in within their existing cost without having to add costs. Okay. Having run a business, I can say that with fair degree of confidence, but I don't want to really dwell on it. So to convince adoption of technology solutions, cost conundrum need to be addressed. Second is demonstrate benefits, especially from people who are early adopters. So if people are using, and some of our solutions are being used, other digital solution companies, their products are being used, let those early adopters really help others understand how they stood to benefit. And last but not the least, the end users, which is our blue collar team members, employees in the offices or the workplaces, find it easy. So if you really address these 7-8 levers, I think technology adoption can be faster, quicker, and really that's what we are going to see. And I'll talk later about that.
Right. Thank you, Parikshit. I think that there are some takeaways here, that how we can convince the customer that there is a future which is only going to be technology driven. But as I understand, this process is not going to be possible when we are talking about a headcount based contract, and we need a SLA based contract. Suman, this question comes back to you. Please unmute yourself as you speak. We are talking about SLA-based contract. Yes, that's going to be ideal into the future. But when you're seeing a large portion of the customers looking at, okay, I need so many workers, in this scenario, how are they going to welcome, investment into technology?
Yeah, Mohana, what you're just saying is that, SLA-based is the future. I can say that, over the past decades, a lot of MNCs, customers, they are going into SLA-based service contract with the service partners. Most of the IPMs, that's the International Property Management Services, they are providing FM services, they are all SLA-based. A lot of large Indian companies are going into SLA-based. So only manpower-based contracts are gradually coming down. Having said that, once the technology is introduced, or it has already got introduced, and the companies have invested in technology and has understood the importance of facilities management services, and that has also need to be extremely facility-based, because ultimately facilities management is the background of any organization. If a company doesn't run, like today, most of the people are not going to the office. However, the admin, facilities management, and IT team members, they are going to office. I am going to office a couple of days a week. So we are the backbone. We are the of any organization, to run an organization, to run an office, to run the business. So the cost has to be there. The organizations will have to be open to increase cost, because the service partners just cannot incur the cost and not recover the cost from the customers, because that is their source of revenue, and that is how the technology will come in. That is how the all the infrastructure is going to be run. So there has to be a cost, and as FM heads on the customer side, we have to tell our management the importance of technology in terms of running the business, in terms of running our business, in terms of running FM function. So it's a lot depends on the facilities heads of the organizations, that how they convince their management the need for technology-based operations and the cost involved. Of course, the service partners will have to come up with a logical cost. There has to be a win-win for both the client side as well as the service provider side. So it cannot be irrational cost. It has to be justified regarding the cost that needs to be incurred, the value additions that are going to be happening by incurring this cost, the risk factor that is going to come down, and the better way of managing facilities. So there will be a cost involved, there has to be a cost involved, and to run the business profitably, all the customers, I think, should accept that. Maybe some customers will adopt it immediately, some may not, because during COVID and post-COVID business is as it is slow for one and for all. And I would look at it in the light that we have to incur the cost, we have to justify the cost, we have to partner with the service partners and work together and convince the management what the cost is going to.
Thank you, Suman. That was nice of you to give such an encouraging note, and I'm sure many of the end users who are listening to us on this platform will understand that there is a need and there has to be an investment from their end to move on this technology platform. Amit, I would like to ask this question to you. During my talks to many of the service providers, I think many of them, almost 50% of them, told me that the situation is so bad that the end users are actually squeezing margins, and they've been even asked to work at almost like 500 rupees per head. So what is the scene actually at your end, and how are you meeting these challenges? What has been your experience so far?
See, Mohana, in the pre-pandemic period, convincing the customers was definitely a huge challenge. But I can say that this pandemic outbreak has acted as a catalyst for change, and is now making us think and making us see that we need to pay attention to how facilities are being managed and how services are being delivered. So with health and wellness becoming key focus areas, organizations, I believe, are now showing interest in digital solutions and integration of traditional services with technology. So yes, we are discussing a few orders, a few projects with some of the largest companies in India, and yes, basis on the result of the proof of concept project that we are running, the companies would decide whether to upscale and replicate the project across all their units in India. Yes, companies are showing interest right now, and we can see that organizations and FMs are showing more interest, and they're keen to bring in technologies to bring health and hygiene back in their respective companies.
Right. Thank you, Amit. Before I move on to Angad to continue this question, I would like the panelists to look into the questions in the Q&A box. I think we are waiting to be answered. Angad, this is for you. Yes, while Amit says people have been open to this kind of technology in FM, I want to hear from your side. Yes, this involves cost. So let's concentrate on the cost factor. Are they ready to spend that cost, or are you seeing a cut in the margins happening and you have to squeeze in inside the existing contract, or how is it moving?
Thank you, Mona. I think, Mona, it's we have different customers and customer groups who have different journey, different paths that they're taking. Mr. Banerjee rightly mentioned there are some that are probably more advanced in their journey, which understand the cost, the trade-off, and the benefits in terms of of inculcating technology that they will bring on. So if I was to give you just some examples, what customers are doing is they're looking at learning how to run an SLA model. Please appreciate they've been running a manpower or cost plus model for a very long period. This is a new thing for them. And the first journey is understanding what's an SLA. The second journey is making sure that SLA, the service level agreement, is fit for purpose. If the SLA is only saying, I need to have everything cleaned all the time, I need all the systems to be running all the time, measured all the time, the cost associated with that would be prohibitive. And the entire advantage of having this conversation, this journey of technology would be lost. So when I have conversations, I always talk about fit for purpose. Is this what you need? Do you really need to measure this every day? Do you really need to measure every minute? Can we measure it every 30 minutes? Can we measure it every 1 hour? I think Mr. Parikshit Roy will speak about that as well in his experience. So that's one thing that we're doing, and we're noticing that conversation is now being understood. They're able to, FM leaders are able to explain, understand, and reciprocate this conversation to their management, to their, users, their end users. In terms of, customers in different segments, what we're seeing is, manufacturing is a great example. Warehousing is a great example. Their productivity is measured, and it matters in terms of how many widgets can I get out of, how many cars can I produce every day, am I operating an optimal level? Now, at those places, they're willing to invest in technology. They're absolutely willing to invest in technology. They're willing to make this journey. BFSI, banking and financial services sector, and ITS businesses. Again, a second example, they're early adopters into this journey. They're willing to do what I call in my parlance, FM on demand. So they've understood my fit for purpose is on demand. I don't need it all day. I'll give you a very unique example. I think all of us are users of this. Do you really want the ATM to be cleaned every minute or every customer experience? Not possible. It's cost prohibitive. Our banks can't bear it. I mean, I don't think as customers, we want bank charges to come in for every cleaning that comes in, an additional charge of ATM user management. So FM on demand is FM on demand and fit for purpose are sort of coming together to this journey. Now, this customer set is understanding cost. They're seeing the trade-off between people and technology and are moving the levers slowly, turning down of people, turning up on technology. There are on the other side, I think Amit's, alluded to this. There are customers that are, just give me technology. I'm just saying it, putting it very plain speak. Give me technology, and I assume it should be a value add. You should bear the cost of it. And I still want the same amount of people. Amit's right. You'll hear the same amount of people. I still want technology. And I don't understand where they've lost their logic and their balance in that conversation. But there are areas where we see that, and maybe government is a sector where that that hangover is still there, and a few other more traditional sectors which are not as productivity driven. I hope that answers the question. Mohana, you're on mute.
Of course, this answers. In fact, what you told me is that they just come with a thing that add technology. We want to see technology. But what do you need? I think Parikshit will tell us this. Over to Parikshit. Please tell us what is it that we need, and what is the kind of investment that a customer needs to put on with this digital platform. If we have to say a percentage increase in their spend on FM? What is that percentage?
So your question is more like how customers grill Angad, me, or others. Huh? So I'm happy that you're wearing a customer's hat and making us answer those, which we do every day. But having said that, I think Angad has said something very important, and I subscribe to that. In countries where digitization had followed customer journeys and the customer experience that they desire to have, and I said in my earlier part that you would have to design solutions and that flexibility in your digital platform or digital microservice systems have to be such that you could adopt it or you could offer it in a way the customer wants. It cannot be a box. The days of box selling in digital solutions are gone. Okay, so that's one. And let me, before that, address something which is very important. And I see certain Q&A sections talking about how do I convince something as an additional cost. So to all, everybody who's attending this, I think we need to get this demon out of our head. Okay, the whole demon that which is really got intrinsically embedded in our ecosystem and our DNA in the service industry is cost plus. Okay, we need to see value plus, outcome plus, and I think Angad is alluding to it, correct? So how do we make sure that we deliver value? Now, I know that there will be lesser people who really believe this story, but as they start growing, that community, that ecosystem starts growing, you'd find, and like in any journey, any industry which grows. So for example, Zomato users in NCR were 10,000 people because I know them since their inception, to a point where Zomato is the way we are surviving in this pandemic in all metro cities, correct? So coming back to the point, so let's break that cost puzzle, okay? How do we break the cost puzzle? And we in Kalido are doing something which is called a 4E model, okay? So at the end of the day, all service providers and service recipients, which is the customers, really work around 4 pivots. And what are these 4 pivots? The customers want the service providers to deliver experience and to deliver efficiency in the way they deliver their services. And from the customer side, they want a healthy ecosystem amongst all that participate in the processes, okay? And they want that the processes are sustainable. We hear this word sustainable, I call it efficacy, correct? So I call it a 4E model. Any digital solution which is fit for purpose and can be recalibrated, kind of recalibrated to the point of your demand, must address this 4E concept. And it addresses the experience of the customer, which is the occupant. It must address empirically and evidence it, how your efficiency is being offered. And third is, how do you sustain that service level? And last but not the least, the harmonious. Now, if you can solve the cost puzzle in this 4E model, there are 2 important takeaways. The first takeaway is certain things are called tangible costs. Okay, efficiency can be dollarized as a tangible cost saving, and we do it. In the industry, we do it. Savings on electricity, reduction of manpower, productivity enhancement, process efficiency, and so on and so forth. But there are some significant intangible costs which we don't talk about at the customer end as well as at the service providers. The service providers need to really look about that how digital solution helps them reduce recursive training. Okay, so as you know that the whole attrition level in this industry is significantly high. And every time there's a new employee who joins in a unit or in a site, he or she needs to be trained up. There's a cost. There's an audit cost, correct? Now, many of these digital solutions, and I'm going to restrict this conversation, is process standardization, recursive training, audit cost, and scalability. Imagine when Angad's company or Sumit's company is scaling up of a large portfolio across 7 cities in the country. This is a significant first cost and therefore a stabilization cost. Digitization allows that stabilization cost to be very, very marginal as opposed to the cost that is hidden and which they spend and which probably sometimes doesn't go back to the customer. But coming back, therefore, in summary, PwC studies, and I'm going to refer this study because at the end of the day, people believe auditors. PwC says, and pre-pandemic, they said digitization helps anything between 7 to 10% of saving in any process across industries. They've revised their forecast and they're saying that it could do anything north of 15%. Okay, so with that, I would say the cost structure has to be looked at both by the service provider so that it's not embedded in their head that we can't pass this on. They can if they need to look at their cost structure. Customers need to pay for something which is a significant value and where they see that the current cost structure of the service provider cannot onboard that additional spend. Okay, so it's got to be a two-way traffic. And if we have that magnanimity, that openness around conversation, I think digitization in India is going to be far, far faster than North America, where probably the largest market share is.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Parikshit. I think,
Mohana, I just, as cost is one of the most important things, just before we go to the next topic, it's an important topic. I mean, taking cue from all the other panelists and what Parikshit said. 40 years back, having computers in all offices or having computers in the service providers' offices was nobody had thought of. That was too costly and it's too cost. Today, everybody has got, today today technology has to move. Technology cost is coming down. You know, artificial intelligence, IoTs, they used to be, like, in sci-fi movies, but they are happening now. So technology has to move. There is a cost. The cost is going to come down. Rationalization will happen. And I think as a customer, I think most customers would go for technology based, and it has to happen. So there is a question from one of my very good friends, Captain Rajesh Sharma. He's one of the delegates. He's the MD for Cushman Wakefield. So he had given me a question. I'll answer to Rajesh later on. But this is somewhere based on the technology part. So we can go to the next topic.
right. So before we
Just an important point, just 30 seconds. To Amit and to Angad, who represent growing, large, Indian, mature service companies. This is the way for you to expand the pie of the unorganized service sector, which today is a large part of Indian FM industry. As you know, that the organized sector has only got about 25-30%, or maybe even less with the current statistics. But if we are to proliferate into that unaddressed 70% unorganized FM, the path to that quickly, effectively is digital solutions.
Right, right. Thank you. And yes, I would like to add here, it's like, you are selling the equipment to a customer, but you do not talk about the maintenance cost. And then thereafter, you see the cost is bulging and the whole complexity starts here. Okay, let me start with Angad. Just a quick round, we're going to have answer in one sentence. If you have to pick up 3 new digital technologies for FM, what would they be? Angad.
Thank you, Mona. Mona, the 3 big ones that I'll pick up is, a lot of businesses don't have, CAFM systems, computer-aided FM systems. And I know many organizations probably don't want the full bundle. But if you start picking up, the auditing tool, the help desk tool, and what I call, the tracking tool for people, I think we'll have a mini FM, a CAFM system, which will start turning customers and users into believers.
Okay.
That's the journey we need to get on.
Great. Okay, Amit, if you have to pick up 3, just 3 new technologies for FM, which would they be?
Yes, as Angad named one of it, CAFM is definitely one of it. I believe it is a very complex technology and not all clients might need it, but yes, to begin with, someone can even start with integrated workplace management system that streamlines office operations and then maybe take it forward from there on.
Great, great. Suman, if you have to pick up or you want to agree to a service provider picking up any 2-3 technologies, what would they be?
Yeah, I completely agree with Angad and Amit that, CAFM is one of the most important things. IoT-based maintenance for critical equipment would be the second one. And of course, I would like to go to smart buildings. So the developers will have to come up more with smart building concepts and IPNs will have to push the developers as well as sell that to the customers that, smart buildings, which covers the entire gamut of everything which is technology based, should be taken up.
Great. This is the first time the word smart came up. I was waiting all along. Who's going to say smart? Thank you so much for bringing that. We are talking about smart technologies. Parikshit, what is new today in the technology world? If you can simply answer in just a couple of
Yeah, I know that we are running behind time. So one good news for all of us, our panelists and the people who are attending, that for the first time in the world, and in the last 1.5, 2 years, Gartner, you must have heard about Gartner. They do this magic quadrant. They analyze, forecast IT solutions, mega trends in the technology world, has started to talk about workplace and work tech. Okay. So we should all applaud ourselves that today a large organization like Gartner taking note of the fact that workplace tech and service tech is an emerging field is a big news. Okay. And therefore, Gartner talks about this whole evolution, and I'll come to the specific 3-point question that you've asked. They talk about what is called an innovation trigger. So what are the problems that is happening in this industry which need to have significant innovation? And then there's something that they refer as slope of enlightenment. That means something which is there and it's really progressing very fast in terms of adoption, benefits, and consumers really lapping it up. So in this slope of enlightenment, they have talked about 3 things which both customers are buying from their side and which service providers are offering as their service solution packaged with what they were otherwise offering. In that, there are 3 pieces. One is a seating and meeting room reservation, booking, use pattern. Bear in mind, we're going to live with this hybrid working for a long, long time from now. Okay, many organizations have made it probably a rule for the future. So in a hybrid working, this use case, I think, is going to gain a lot of momentum for small, medium, and large offices. Some customers are going to build their own, but some customers would buy it, and some customers would expect their service providers to offer it. Okay. The second, on the innovation trigger, they are talking about something similar to what Angad and Mr. Banerjee talked about, and is about employee experience. Very important, and there's a new vertical emerging which is called X-Tech, employee experience tech. Workplace analytics, something which is very close to my heart because at the end of the day, cost, efficiency is very, very important to track. The first thing everybody says, what is the cognitive output from digital solutions? Kya bata raha hai? AI kya kar raha hai? What are you offering? Correct? So at the end of the day, this analytics piece is very important. Other companies like Verdantix, which are also very large forecasting megatrend analytics company, are talking about Wi-Fi based occupancy sensing. And to Angad's point, which he said, employee movement and blue collar availability, etc. So I see that as a Wi-Fi based occupancy tracking, very cost effective. We have developed a solution, first in the world. Not in this forum, but offline, we could talk about it. Visitor management, very less spoken about, but would, in my opinion, would be one of the biggest use cases in the Indian subcontinent. And then things like space reservation, space optimization. Many people have given away space. Many people are using, let's say, 40% of the floor space, releasing it in a staggered manner every week. So those kind of technology would be very, very relevant. And I think we're going to see significant digital adoptions in this space in the coming quarters and coming months.
Right. Thank you, Parikshit. May I have all the speakers pinned on the screen, please? Here is a rapid fire question. Angad, this question comes to you. If I'm going to tell that we have a tech-driven FM service, especially for the manufacturing facility, how do you go about it?
Many different things. Most important thing is people availability. So, staffing availability is very important. So now, away from biometrics and RFID cards, there is geo-fenced facial recognition based systems, which are which make human intervention nil. So that's a great system for you that you can use. We're already seeing a large use of that in warehousing units, commercial, real estate also, and e-commerce companies are big acceptors of that. Another one that I would call is the digitization of your checklists. Manufacturing is all about checklist. Digitize your checklist, move away from paper, because digital checklists help you integrate, move towards those data analytics that Mr. Roy, spoke about. If you don't have data, and if you don't have, easy maneuverability of that data, the data is of no use. So maybe those are two very, very important ways. There are, multiple green checklist solutions which work on smartphones, very basic Android phones. So those are probably the most easy adaptable things that a manufacturing unit can do.
Right. Amit, this question comes to you. We have been talking so much of digitization. We never spoke about robots. What is happening in the robots? Are we ready to adopt? Are the customers ready to invest? We've got beautiful machines that have come into the market. Please unmute yourself. Amit, unmute yourself, please.
Yes, I believe airports have already started bringing in robotics. We are seeing robotics being used on a lot of airports, but there would be resistance when it comes to manufacturing, because robotics, there would be intervention of human, like the manpower or the workforce moving around. So to avoid that, maybe manufacturing industry will take time to adopt robotics, but we can see a lot of malls and a lot of airports using this technology these days.
Right. Thank you, Amit. Suman, how is it that are you all using robots at your end? Are robotic cleaning encouraged at your end?
No, in our organization, it's not, because ThyssenKrupp is slightly old-fashioned, and we have not yet adopted to robotics. But going forward, I think in future we have to, and it has to be. And one of the questions from Captain Rajesh, my good friend, I have to answer. Otherwise, next time he sees me, he can kill me. Over the past 2 decades, the FM has seen a lot of technological advancement. In the next 2 to 3 years, the technological advancement will be much faster. The ground level staff has to be trained. Today, a lot of housekeeping and technical staffs from the service partner side, they are using some kind of technology or the other in many companies. So it is going to be evolving and evolving fast, the technology based FM service.
Right. Thank you. Parikshit, there is one question which has come out. Of course, earlier Suman had said that yes, computers came in, but people were not unemployed. But here is a question from one of our attendees which says that if digitization comes, it will reduce the human force, more jobs will be lost, and the FM dependency will become more on the technology and not on the human forces. Please answer.
So I never expected that this grilling questions will come to me and we'd have a happy path going forward. But anyway, this is a good question.
Parikshit, you're the technology expert. So in this
No, I'm not. I wear still a FM hat, Mr. Banerjee. But having said that, technology has never reduced workforce, engagement or employment. It has found new ways to engage. Imagine Amazon, okay? How many people they're employing and re-employing right now, and additionally, how many people they have got on their fold. I think some of these companies, the digital service companies, would hire from FM organizations to have subject matter expertise. So in case there's a reduction, and there could be a reduction, I mean, I'm not disputing that, but they would be re-employed in new roles that are emerging. For example, I personally see that all companies like Angad's company or Amit's company are going to have a chief digital officer in a few years from now, which probably is not a position that they have, or even if they have, probably they'll scale up that position. So there is going to be a lot of jobs that are going to create for manufacturing of IoT, manufacturing and the last mile of implementing the solutions, which are jobs which are not there. So some of these guys who in case would be reduced, they would find a re-employment in the whole ecosystem. Bear in mind, as I said, that the cost puzzle is going to move from one part to another part. Okay, the cost is not going to shrink overall. The cost is going to move from one end to the other end. And my point is, do not fear. The digital economy is not going to make people unemployed. are going to actually make people more versatile, more adaptable, and more relevant to the time.
I can't agree more, Parikshit. Very, very well said.
Very well said. And before I close in, I would really like to add on to what Parikshit said. Yes, when computers came, we had to skill ourselves and become more computer efficient. Similarly, to get digitized, the FM segment, both at the service provider end and at the customer end, have to educate themselves, think about reskilling, and prepare for this digital world and move forward. Yes, FM future is digital future. It is robotic future. It is technology driven future. With this, I would like to thank all our speakers here today and our attendees. I must say, everybody stayed on till the end and listened to us. And there have been very appreciating comments also in the chat box. Thank you so much for joining us. And I thank Kalido for partnering with us to host this session. Thank you very much and see you all again in the next session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mona. Thank you, all the best.
Thank you and stay well.
Thank you. Thank you, stay safe.